Also included in your further investigation is to review historical records such as criminal records. This is to cross-examine self-reports and actual history that determines the skills and behavior of the perpetrator or the defendant prior to the commission of the crime. Next is to be updated with relevant trainings because according to research, law enforcement officers are found to be significantly more accurate than other law enforcement or their peers. Also, psychologists who are interested in deception also perform better compared to other psychologists. So this means that with relevant trainings, your confidence in misclassification will improve, especially when evaluating who is faking and who is genuine. Another method is the use of your empirical database and statistics. This is because the confidence of your evaluation will improve, especially if you connect your database to your decision in a particular case. So it was also reported that your confidence in your evaluation will also solidify the relationship between your premises and conclusion. However, there is a reminder that your confidence in using statistics does not guarantee the empirical truth of the conclusion because it can only help to address your level of confidence in your conclusion. So we have an example here. So let's say out of 100, there are 80 people who have positive scores in malingering test. So 80 out of 100 means it is 80% of them have positive scores in malingering. So let's say Mr. Jones has a positive score in this test. So the report must be 80% that it is logical that Mr. Jones is malingering. Reporting this way means you are concluding based on your evaluation and not on the actual reality, because the limitation of evaluation is, especially this involves human behavior, you can only observe the actual behavior of the perpetrator or the defendant in a limited time frame. So the court will give us a time frame, and that beyond that time frame, we don't know the changes that happened to the defendant or the perpetrator. So that is the limitation. Now going back to the format of reporting that 80% logical that Mr. Jones is malingering, that way we also consider the cost of our evaluation. So as I've mentioned earlier, the risk of hiring an astronaut for a space program is higher compared to the risk in hiring the wrong applicant in a company of an entry-level position. So in this context, the decisions in the court is irreversible. So you cannot say that 80% surely Mr. Jones is malingering, because again, we only have a time frame in evaluation, and beyond that time frame, we do not know the changes if Mr. Jones is still doing malingering or not. Okay, so we are now in the deception analysis. So we'll start discussing the targets. So as you can see in the diagram, on the right side, we have the targets. So what are the targets? Generally, these are the objectives that you portray. So for example, behavioral. Are you appearing introvert or extroverted person? Are you outgoing? Let's say cognitive. Are you claiming you have episodes of psychosis during the commission of the crime? Let's say, how about sensory? So are you claiming you have loss of smell and hearing during the commission of the crime? So that is the target. On the left side, we have response style. We have honesty, faking good, faking bad. But overall, these are all faking or malingering. And then on the middle side, we have this detection strategy. So we will also discuss the among other things that I have mentioned earlier. We have 4 detection strategies. Okay, so these are the main reasons of faking. Number 1, let's say, for example, you are a veteran soldier. So you might claim you have PTSD in order to gain a higher service-related compensation, or let's say a higher benefit. Number 2, another example is, let's say you may deny a history of criminal records in order for you to be granted or to be sentenced with just lighter offense. Another example is when it comes to monetary settlement, you may claim memory loss of previous payments so that you can gain large sum of money. And another example is you may claim episodes of psychosis, or you may fake insanity for you to avoid imprisonment or hospitalization. So as you can see, those are just some of the examples or the reasons of faking. But ultimately, the common ground is the people who fake, the people who do malingering, their target symptoms is always in accordance to their listed personal interest. So targets can be seen in our reference book in page 64 and 65. So I'll show you some. In table 2.1, we have behavioral targets. So in our previous class in psychological testing and assessment, we can measure motor ability, verbal ability with different kinds of tests. So for example, with motor ability, we have the R-bands, and then here at the bottom line, the bottom part, in the cognitive targets, attention, memory, language, and thinking, these are all the dimensions of neuropsychological exams. So based on my previous lessons, I mentioned about different kinds of tests that must be administered in order to detect faking or malingering. Okay, so there's a major concern about targets of deception. What if some targets cannot be verified? For example, how about suicidal ideation? How about actual pain? Okay, how about hearing voices? And how about trauma-related nightmares? So these are all some of the unverifiable targets of deception. Now, the recommendation of the experts, the authors, is to examine, let's say, psychosis, episodes of psychosis. You should examine the signs and symptoms, the literature related to psychosis, and as well as interview the significant others that are observing the client, the defendant, or the perpetrator on a daily basis. Okay, now how about the targets of deception in terms of faking emotions? So going back to the clip that I showed you, it is a series, a fiction, Lie to Me series, 2009 up to 2011, but it is based on the works and research of Dr. Paul Ekman. So according to Dr. Paul Ekman, there are 7 universal emotions. Either you are a Japanese, you're American, European, Russian. These are the 7 universal emotions. And then, how will you know that your client's portrayal of emotion registered in the face is the real one and not the fake one? So that is where relevant trainings will come in, because detection of deception it can be learned through trainings and workshops. Also, another thing to be aware of is there are emotions that completely register to your face, while there are emotions that only register to some parts of the face. And then number 2, there are emotions that will not really reflect on your face because the person just drink a medicine to numb the face. Okay, aside from that, there are also mannerisms and not related to deception. So that is a very big topic. Again, the reminder is there is no stand-alone tool that can detect deception, but it's better to have many sources of database of information for you to have a confident forensic evaluation.